your windows. Lock your doors. Keep your loved ones near. Time is running out. It's here for fear.
Welcome to Ear for Fear. This is Donovan.
Hey, and I'm Rick.
And this is the podcast where we talk about scary movies or movies trying to be scary.
Today we're going to be talking about 1988's The Blob. Before we jump into it, let's do a real quick synopsis. A deadly entity from space crashes near a small town in California and quickly starts to consume anyone in its path. Panic and fear takes over as shady government scientists try to contain the horrific creature. So what did you think, Donovan? Had you seen this before?
Yeah, I've seen, I think so. I think I've seen bits of this. But it's like one of those, you just watch movies when you're a kid and then, like you become an adult and all these things kind of mix together. So I think I've seen this, but I don't know. It's like a very deep swimming pool or something, You can't really see the bottom, but I see bits of it.
Yeah.
So I think so. I remember parts of this movie anyway.
I wonder if I had probably introduced it to you when you were a kid, but I don't know if you ever maybe sat down and watched the whole thing with me. I can't remember maybe showing it to you. Maybe it was on and you just kind of caught a scene or two, or maybe you're catching stuff online, maybe that shows bits and pieces of it. Or
no one talks about the Blob.
They don't, right?
No,
right?
I don't think I've seen it online.
So right off the bat, because I've been meaning to ask you this because we watched it and it seemed like you enjoyed it, but I haven't asked you. So what did you think? Did you like this?
So I think I saw the IMDb score and the Rotten Tomato score after we watched it. And I was like, oh yeah, those are pretty low. I know this is emulating the 1950s original, and that was definitely B-movie material.
Yeah.
At least that's what I've read. And it's even like B-movie classic material. So I know this has already kind of got like a little bit of salad on its face or something because it's a remake and no one likes remakes for whatever reason. So I think that this is a good movie. And I think I haven't read the criticism of this movie, but what I saw I liked, and I don't have too many complaints. And I think I even brought this up when I was watching it to you. And the only reason this movie is even in my brain is because we're going through a pandemic. But Contagion is a movie that kills basically like 80% of its, it kills a lot of people and a lot of big names. And when we were watching this movie, I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of like Contagion. It almost seems to have no regard for its characters. Every character that we've been introduced to kind of dies besides two, really. Yeah. And I was like, that's really ballsy and it's really cool because then it doesn't turn into like your typical hero saves the day type movie. It does towards the end, but for that first hour or so, you're kind of just watching like this natural disaster unfold that was actually man-made. It's almost like a super prescient movies these days. If you want to talk about like climate change or any of that stuff, or even just the inability to handle a crisis. And I was like, oh yeah, this movie is actually really good. And it's also nailing all that typical B campy horror movie stuff that you like. Really cool, like death scenes, even though like it's killing it good innocent characters half the time, even though some of the characters are flawed, and that's fine. They're human. And, I just couldn't, like, there's almost tragedy in it. So that's kind of like my short little spiel. suffice to say, I like this movie. It's a good movie, and it's good for multiple reasons.
Yeah, yeah. I got the impression that you liked it, but sometimes I can't tell, and that's why I didn't ask. I figured I'd save it to the episode, and yeah, they didn't pull any punches on this one. I mean, they killed everybody. Like in normal horror movies, they don't kill little kids, and they killed the one kid towards the end, which I was like, oh my god, they didn't care,
See, and that's like where I think I've seen this movie because I remember that scene. And then I remember the guy who commits basically rape in the car.
I know.
I remember that scene, and that's why I'm like, yeah, I think I've seen this movie because I remember like being almost traumatized by those scenes when I was a kid. Just because I remember them, I was like, oh god, this is the first time I've ever seen like a kid die on screen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen this movie, but it's like the first time I've actually watched it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a good movie.
I kind of, I was kind of hoping you'd like it because I know how you are. You want a movie to do certain things, and if it knows who it is or what it is from start to finish, whether you enjoy, let's say you agree with the content or not, like Tusk, for instance, it was, a guy gets turned into a walrus, but if Kevin Smith wasn't so all over the place, you may have maybe not liked the movie, but appreciated it more, because doing enough of these with you from start to finish, if a movie knows what it's doing and does it, you seem to at least respect it,
This is a surprise to me. I wasn't expecting it to like it this much, but I did. And I just right off the gate, we're under 10 minutes on this recording so far. I've spoiled a little bit and by saying people die in this movie. Big shock, it's a horror movie. But this is your spoiler-free recommendation from me. I think this movie has gotten better as it's aged, especially with all these things happening in the world in the last couple of years. And I think that you can attach commentary to this movie that probably wasn't intended, but I still think is there. So give it a watch. It'll hit your political bone, and you'll have a good time as it tickles it.
It's very fun movie. I never get tired of this movie at all. And yeah, like you said earlier on, people crap on remakes, and I'm definitely one of them. And I'm kind of a hypocrite, and I'm going to call myself out because for the most part, I would say 99% of remakes I stay away from. Doesn't mean I haven't seen some of them. Some I just purposely stay away from because I know they're going to suck. But this is, the original Blob, I think, came out in 1958, starring Steve McQueen. I had never seen it. I thought I had seen some of it, but I was watching some stuff on it. I had never seen it. Steve McQueen. I mean, he was a very, I don't know. He was a very good actor, a very revered actor. Like, people really respected him. So for him to do a 1958, kind of B movie, that seemed odd to me, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough about it to really comment, but it seems strange to me. But this is a remake that is done really well. And I was watching the trailer for the 1958 Blob, and yeah, they followed in this movie a lot of the stuff from there. So this is a true remake. The Thing was a remake, and I love The Thing. So I'm not a fan of remakes, but there are some good ones out there. So I can't just sit here and crap on all of them, because again, I'm being a total hypocrite, So. Because I figured at some point you were going to call me out on it in this episode.
Well, I called you out when we were watching the movie.
I know you did.
Like people who've gone to film school, you have to watch The Maltese Falcon. That's a classic. Anyone who likes movies has probably seen The Thing, even if you don't like horror movies. And that movie is amazing. I'm not going to put The Blob in those, like in that tier, but this is a good movie. Like, and the fact that it was a remake, and at that point, like a 30-year-old remake at that point, or 30 years separate from the original.
Sure.
It's good. It's worth the time and money they spent on this and the effort. Like they made a good product. Like I don't think remakes as a whole should be shat on. And I understand why people don't want remakes. They want original stories. But I do think that there's a a means of transformation on the original work. Like there's that opportunity that presents itself when you do a remake. And I do recommend that, future filmmakers or, filmmakers making movies today take the opportunity to look at stories that haven't been told as good as they can. And I'm not saying that, or, that they want, maybe there's something missing in the original that they could then add to the new one to put, a different spin on it. That's it. Basically, I just said the same thing twice. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
But, take that opportunity and you might make something really worthwhile. I do think The Thing is better. Not James Cameron, John Carpenter.
Yeah.
Let me correct myself so people know I made a mistake.
Yeah.
John Carpenter's The Thing, I think, is better than Howard Hawks's The Thing. I've seen both. I think like Carpenter's is amazing. I think it's one of the greatest movies of all time, let alone horror movies of all time. And The Blob is certainly good. And I will say, like, they obviously put a gorier twist on this movie.
Yeah.
And I think it helps this type of subject matter because the sort of visceral killings is part of the tragedy of these characters dying. It's one thing to see them dead. It's another thing to see them suffering the entire time they're dying.
Yeah.
For their bodies to be melting. And this movie, like Contagion, is kind of, there's like this sort of natural disaster unfolding and killing these people, and it sucks. And I think a really easy way to show just how bad it is to by make it very clear how bad it is.
Yeah.
And that you get that with the blob literally sort of dissolving them as it eats them.
Oh yeah. I mean, everything about it. I mean, everything it does, it starts out as this little tiny, I mean, it's not even that big. And then just as it just it obliterates everything in its tracks, it just becomes bigger and bigger and becomes just almost this uncontrollable, like we said in the synopsis, this entity, this, it's a creature, but it's man-made. We don't find that out until later in the movie, but we just think, oh, it comes from space and it's from some alien being and it just, but no, this is literally man-made. The government or the military, so they could use it for whatever. What was it, Russia? I think it was to fight a Cold War. Is that what they said?
Yeah, and it's a really...
Which is funny because
it
doesn't like cold. And of course, we know Russia, So
it is where it is cold.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's just, it's kind of funny. But maybe they did that on purpose. It wasn't, because this is truly... it's a cheesy, campy kind of B movie like the original. I mean, there's so many cool B movie references in this, like, because they do a great job with these practical effects. I mean, the kills alone are phenomenal, but this blob itself is pretty cool, but then there's other scenes where it looks super cheesy and almost like CGI'd or something, or not claymation, but something on those lines, that you would see in those older movies. But I think they did it on purpose because they did it throughout the movie, with like this big creature and all the effects were just amazing. I mean, the kills were great. I love this movie, all around.
I really like how they made the blob in certain shots look like, or it looks like they used like chicken, like raw chicken. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It looked a lot like raw chicken to me.
Really?
Like a whole bunch of raw chicken.
Like, and then colored it or something?
Well, I mean, I've seen raw chicken look like that color before, but yeah, they could have done that.
Interesting.
Or like a spleen. Like it looked like they used like actual, like fleshy meat stuff.
I wonder how they did that effect. I probably should have looked that up.
Probably. But yeah, it looked cool. It looked gross. Which is obviously what they wanted to go for.
It did look. Yeah, I mean, effects were just they were just awesome. I love the effects on this. Like we talked about The Thing, the practical effects in The Thing are just they still blow my mind to this day. And what was The Thing, 1980, 81 or something like that? I mean, what they did then, and then 6-7 years later with The Blob. I mean, there's other movies that do really, really amazing practical effects, and this is definitely one of them. I mean, you know, there's a movie, The Stuff, that I can't remember what year The Stuff came out. I almost want to say The Stuff came out prior to The Blob, but I may be wrong, or maybe they came out around the same time. That one is definitely a lot more B movie, and I don't know if you would like it. I bought it recently on like some special edition, and I hadn't seen it in a while, and I was kind of shaking my head. Definitely not in the same ballpark as The Blob. I think the Blob is just so much fun. Everything, the acting's good. You know, the practical effects are good. The story itself is cool, even though it's a remake. But The Stuff it was whatever. The Stuff has more of a message in there, you know, about consumption and you know, and stuff like that. But I mean, we could talk about that one at some other time. But this one, this one's great, man. You know, Kevin Dillon's in it. You know, he people know him, I think, from Entourage, probably more recently. I think he was in Platoon. I think he was in the movie with Val Kilmer, the Doors movie. He's been in some other stuff, but I don't know if I think he's a good actor. I think sometimes he maybe is in the shadows of his brother, you know, Matt Dillon. I mean, and Matt Dillon was like one of the it stars of the 80s, you know. He's done a lot of stuff over the years, but so I don't know if he's ever been in his brother's shadows, you know. You know how those siblings are. It's like you got one sibling that seems to be, you know, kind of
it
more
changes.
acclaimed than the other. Yeah.
I mean, it changes. Just look at the Olsen twins and Elizabeth Olsen, you know,
Yeah.
like it changes for sure. Like,
Yeah.
Even the Damons, right? Are there multiple Damons?
Oh, there's lots of Damon or Wayans. You're thinking of the Wayans, like Wayans brothers. Yeah.
No, I'm not thinking about those guys.
Who are you thinking of?
I am picturing.
We got the Baldwins. You got all the Baldwins.
Yes, I was thinking about the Baldwins.
And then and what's the guy who plays Thor?
Chris Hemsworth.
And doesn't he have a couple brothers too? I can't tell. I can't tell them apart. That terrible?
There's like a lot of Chris's in Hollywood right now.
Oh, okay. I couldn't tell the difference. I'm like, I was watching Cabin in the Woods. I'm like, is that Thor? And I can't remember if that's the brother.
It was, and that was way before Thor. Even though I think they came out around the same time.
No, it did.
But it was filmed way before like the movie came out.
Cabin in the Woods was, and they shelved it or something.
I don't remember what the story was, but yeah, that movie was like just chilling for like a couple of years.
Why does Hollywood do that? Is it just a money situation?
It might have been a copyright thing, because I know they borrowed a lot of monsters towards that end of that movie.
Yeah.
Or they wanted it to be like released together with the Steam or that game made by Steam or Valve called I don't remember.
Yeah.
I've never played. It's like a zombie game.
Oh, okay.
Left 4 Dead.
Oh, okay. Left 4 Dead. Okay.
So maybe because they use those zombies in that thing too. So I don't know. It could have been just like some weird conglomeration of like rights issues.
Kind of like timing.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Don't take my word for it. I don't. My brain is stupid. I don't remember everything.
I know Hollywood does that. I know they do that with like the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and then they were trying to get like a chocolate bar made in time, and I don't know if that worked out. And I know there was like there was something with was it the Atari game? Was it E.T.? Was it E.T. and then E.T. coming out around the same time? They were trying to get I want to say it's E.T., but the game was just a complete piece of crap. I think it's E.T. But they wanted to do the game and release the movie around the same time so they could market it together. But they rushed the game and did it in like, I don't know, it was like 6 or 8 weeks, some Atari game. And I think is that the one where there's a documentary where they go to search for the landfill of all the Atari games of E.T.?
I mean, I know about the landfill, but I don't know about
E.T.?
movie.
Am I
That is E.T.
That sounds right, because I watched the documentary. You think I would remember this, but the game was just horrible. Like they rushed it so they could try to get it, to be released around the same time as the movie. And, so of course quality is going to suffer when you do that,
Yeah, it still happens. Like it sucks.
Yeah. But anyways, we're getting off on a tangent, which is, I guess, okay.
It's our podcast.
That's right. We can do whatever we can do whatever we want, man. Yeah, we can sit here and drink some fraps that I made. How's your frap, by the way? Is it pretty good?
Is it Irish cream?
I did a little bit of vanilla and a little bit of Irish cream.
Yeah, I can taste it.
What do you think?
I had the Irish cream in like a regular latte, and it tasted bad.
Oh,
but this is okay. This is fine.
Yeah, this is pretty good. I want to try the pumpkin one that we bought, the pumpkin spice, but
yeah, I was gonna try that, but I just like put mint in everything, so I haven't tried it.
You do. You're minting everything these days.
It's good. I like the way it feels in the mouth.
You like mint. I see. I'm not a fan of mint, so I do want to try.
It's not really a taste thing. It's just like it makes it all feel all fresh.
Kind of like maybe
it just feels minty.
It feels minty.
It feels cool.
Like brush your teeth or something.
Yeah, it feels exactly
Drink some
like
coffee
that.
and brush your teeth at the same time.
So that's why I haven't tried the pumpkin spice.
I want to try that one. I was almost tempted to like mix a squirt of the syrup in this one, but I wasn't sure, like Irish cream, vanilla, and pumpkin spice. I don't know. I think pumpkin spice vanilla.
I forget how they do it at Starbucks. I think they put nutmeg on top. Does that sound right?
Mm-hmm.
So nutmeg or cinnamon, or is it both?
That sounds right. Nutmeg. I think nutmeg. Maybe some cinnamon.
I mean, that's why I bought it. I like pumpkin spice.
Yeah. We got to try it. We got to figure out a drink to use with it. You know,
it'll probably just literally pumpkin spice. Yeah, I'm not sure what else they put into it. They could do like a vanilla base. I mean, they put vanilla in like caramel macchiatos. So
yeah,
that's how you make a caramel macchiato.
Maybe next time I'll throw some vanilla and pumpkin spice, see what that tastes like. But yeah. Anyways,
no,
these are pretty good though. I needed some caffeine because I got up real early to get my my tires changed and an oil change, and that took like 3 hours. So
yeah,
I needed some caffeine. So
cool,
yeah, better way. So, anyways, the Blob, man. Do we want to just kind of jump around, or you want to kind of start at the beginning? We know it comes from. It seems like it just comes from space. It's like a meteor, kind of, right?
It does come from space. I mean, it's man-made. It looks like a meteor. We'll find out later that it's actually kind of like a satellite. I guess they were doing like tests up in space just to see how this thing grows. We'll find that out later. But yeah, inside this meteorite, and it looks like a meteorite when you first see it, there's like a strange goo, and that's the Blob. And some homeless guy checks it out, and he gets attacked by the Blob. Yeah, they don't really explain the Blob, do they? It doesn't. I guess I don't know if it's sentient, or if it's just kind of like moving towards like warm stuff. I don't know if it knows what it eats, or if it's just eating kind of anything. But yeah, it attacks the guy and it eats his arm slowly.
Yeah, it just attaches to him, huh? He can't get it off.
I mean, yeah, he can't, and so he wants to like chop his arm off.
Yeah,
and that's where the biker kid sees him.
Yeah, Kevin Dillon. What's his character's name? It's Kevin Dillon.
Doesn't matter, Dad.
Yeah.
So doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things.
So they just he comes across him. I think Tawny Smith's character and her date are driving. They almost hit him. They end up taking the old man to the hospital. I mean, he basically gets dissolved, right? I think the doctor goes to look at him, and I think maybe his head is still there, but his whole torso is, like, the rest of his body is dissolved. Does that sound about right? Yeah.
His like upper torso is intact, but the rest of it's just kind of gone.
Just gone. And the Blob's gone. And so we find out that, and again, I don't know all these characters' names, but the Tawny Smith's date, he's like a football jock. The Blob, I think he ends up getting, the Blob is on the ceiling and comes down on top of him and basically absorbs him. And she comes in and finds him, I don't know, being consumed by this thing, which is just a very cool scene. Just looks, I mean, doesn't it look real? Like if you were being attacked by some weird blob thing, that's what it would look like. It wasn't, it was done. It's just done well. It was executed quite well. I mean, you're feeling for this guy. He's being pulled away by this blob thing, I'm sure he can't breathe, and he's just being suffocated and dissolved, and that's just a shitty feeling.
Well, I'd imagine. Yeah. So the first two characters that die is that homeless guy, and then the would-be boyfriend, the date.
Yeah.
And at that point, like, we kind of begin the movie with that guy, the date guy, the jock guy, the football player guy.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, okay, so here's the hero of the movie.
Yeah.
This is the girl. They're going to be, protecting each other throughout the movie. And that's what I'm in for. I've seen it a million times. I get it.
Yeah.
Let's just do it. And then nope, he dies right after he calls the sheriff to report the strange stuff that's going on. And it's kind of crazy because he's trying to care for the homeless guy. He drives him to the hospital. he checks on the homeless guy to make sure he's okay. He's not. He sees something weird, and then like, well, he could be dying. And then he gets the doctor to check him out, and he's dead. And then he wants to call the sheriff to warn him what's happened. There's a dead guy here. I don't know what's going on. And then he dies. And it's like, okay, so this movie is doing something a little bit different.
Yeah.
This movie doesn't really care about the protagonist, or doesn't really have like a main character in like the first hour of the movie. And it's just going to kill everybody.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so that's our one shocking death. Maybe it won't happen again. But then it does happen again.
It does to everybody. Every character we seem to like, that it introduced. It's just like, okay, well, don't get used to them.
And that's why I like this movie. A very common thing, we talked about it like a week or two ago, is a day in the life of. And this is where you establish in the first act who these characters are, what life is like for them. And like a smart writer will do that as they're progressing. They're setting up all the actual movie stuff. But you need to have some sort of established normalcy, and you get that here with the sheriff having the crush on the diner lady.
Yeah,
the diner lady like reciprocating that, but also taking care of the delinquent kid. Kevin Dillon.
Yeah.
You see the boyfriend pining after a girl, or the date pining after a girl, but playing a football. All these people like watching high school football. You get all this stuff, so it sucks when they just die out of nowhere for no good reason.
Yeah.
And then they die horribly too.
Yes, they do.
And that's, like, it's not shocking for shocking's sake, in my opinion. It's there to set up just how horrible their untimely deaths are. And that's how I think these days that's a very, very relatable thing. And it kind of, did I have fun with this movie? Yeah. But I had all this in the back of my head thinking, how unnecessary was all this?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's going to happen again, because, the girl, what's her name? Or the actor's name, at least.
Tawny Smith.
Tawny Smith.
Yeah.
No one believes her that she saw the boyfriend die by this thing. And so everyone is dismissing her.
They just think he's missing, right? Like maybe he's missing,
or there's
something.
like a killer. So that the cops are searching around. There's only two cops. There's a sheriff and a deputy, and then the rest are volunteers.
Typical small town, right?
Right. And then the parents don't believe Smith. So, this Blob is just kind of running free, and it's going to kill more people. And I think this is where we get like that Predator stuff, right?
God, yeah. Isn't this terrible? Like,
this is like,
how did they get away with this in the 80s? Because there was a lot of movies like this. You could not do this today.
I feel like you could do it today only because he dies horribly, but
you think
it's played for laughs, I think. And I think that's where the issue is. If you don't play it for laughs, you're okay. But because we're almost supposed to be like, oh yeah, I totally get it. It's like, that's what makes it wrong. And yeah, I think, you can even just go as far back as like the 40-year-old virgin and be like, oh yeah, those gay jokes sure don't hold up these days. So it's just like, it's a product of the times. And I think that's always a issue you're going to have when you watch any movie. Like, we can watch movies today, 20 years from like, oh yeah, that probably wasn't great for like transgendered people or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it kind of sucks. It's a cool thing that he dies, because that guy's a douche.
He is a douche.
But I wish the girlfriend didn't die, since she basically got date raped and then she died.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like a death I'm not a fan of. Well, I'm not a fan of it at all. So yeah, that sucks. But that happens in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
This movie isn't perfect. It's not,
Yeah, we don't really have to like talk a lot.
And I don't
about
agree
that.
with it.
Yeah.
I don't.
I guess the bottom line is he gets it, which he deserved. If anyone in this movie deserved to get it, because there wasn't a lot of people other than the government, the government people that were basically quarantining this whole town, and who cares? They're just collateral damage at this point. Some of them die, and they deserved it, and he deserved it, but no one else really deserved it. He gets her drunk and takes advantage of her, but yeah, man, he ends up dying in the car. We don't need to really, we don't have to go into detail on it, because, but yeah, this this thing's just, I don't know, they don't explain it. I think it's just for convenience purposes. We just see it when it's going to be one of the characters that we've started to get to know is going to die. Right. Because we don't know what is it moving towards. We know it doesn't like cold. We know it doesn't like any cold. So ice or anything like that. We know it doesn't like that. So I don't know where it's moving to. Is it just, does it recognize body temperature and goes up? This is something we can feed on and just kind of moves on, like if it was to go through, say, a farm, does it just annihilate all the cows and pigs and everything in its tracks? Because it's, I know
there are like some little slime thingies, like maybe it's slime mold that I think shoots gas or whatever, like to almost like sniff out where like potential food is.
Yeah.
But yeah, you also have like heat or whatever, but it's not clear in the movie what's going on. So we can just chop it up to it's just aiming one. Like, well, no, because it's like almost like a predator. Like it hid in that girl's body after it ate her and then attacked him. It's just a horror movie being a horror movie.
Yeah.
Is there really logic? I don't think there is.
No, there isn't. It doesn't need to be.
It just eats people. It goes to a bunch of different areas. It kind of traverses the sewers, but it just eats people. It shows up where it needs to, and then it eats them.
Yeah. Yeah. It just follows all of our main characters, and then it just, and it just takes down anyone in its path, Yeah, I mean, so we got that. Let's see. I think at this point, the sheriff questions, Kevin Dillon's character because he's the town bad boy. You could tell he's been in trouble, but deep down he seems like a pretty good kid. I think maybe some of it is stuff he's done over the years, or maybe it's just maybe stuff that he hasn't done is just got accused of, or they just assume he's just a bad apple. So
they also like keep complaining about or blaming the actions of his mom on him and his parentage, and they keep throwing that in his face. It's like,
yeah,
like what the hell, man? Can you at least try to help the kid out instead of like reach out and try to help this kid because he's coming from a bad place instead of putting him down for it?
Yeah,
like how shitty are you?
But that's pretty stereotypical though, and especially in a lot of these movies where if your mom or your dad was this, you're a town drunk or you're whatever, then the kid's just a bad seed. So let's
yeah, it sucks. I don't like it.
Yeah,
but it happens here.
Yeah.
So actually, I think that cop lives through the end of the movie.
He does. The guy from RoboCop. Yeah.
I think I found his character even redeemed a little bit because he like almost helps that kid, right? Because there's just like gunfire. I don't know. It's weird. I don't quite remember because there's a standoff, right?
Yeah. He does help. I think he takes a bullet towards the end of the movie, but yeah, I think he kind of redeems himself. And we had seen him in. He was one of the bad guys in the original RoboCop. I always forget the actor's name, but he's very recognizable, and he's the one that gets the toxic waste in RoboCop, which is a phenomenal scene. But I forget his name. But I honestly I remember seeing him in other than the Blob and RoboCop, but I'm sure he's done other stuff. But the sheriff I've seen in other stuff. So yeah, I mean we get this. Kind of things are going a little screwy in the town, Kevin Dillon, he ends up going to the little diner where I forget her, the character's name. I don't know. Let's just call her Fran. That just seems like is that her name? Is her name Fran? Her name's Fran. That just seems like
I think it is. Yeah.
Like if you're working at a little diner, that just seems like a common name for someone. But he comes in late and she's cleaning up, but she makes him a sandwich because he just had a crappy day. And then you get Tawny Smith who sneaks out of the house to go and, to go meet up with him to, look, we saw something here and, we got to address this thing. But, then we get the scene with I don't know what you call him, a dishwasher, I guess. Is he a dishwasher? Just maybe
this is a small town, he probably does everything.
Yeah, he
probably cooks, he probably cleans, he does the dishes.
Yeah.
Dude, it's probably him and Fran. And maybe one other person.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So
yeah. And he gets it. He thinks there's something in the sink because he's trying to plunge it, can't figure it out, sticks his hand in. Of course, he gets the blob, attaches to him, and that death is pretty cool. We know it's not, that couldn't happen, but it's really cool to see. He essentially gets grabbed down this sinkhole, like his entire body, and we see this, his leg is sticking out and all this blood coming out, and we see like the pipe expand, which we know this isn't going to happen, but it makes for a great scene.
Yeah, it'd be funny if it wasn't so horrifying, right? It's almost cartoony.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think at this point in the movie, I turned to you and I was like, the only people that die so far are people who are helping other people.
Yeah.
Because I think like the homeless guy gives like a Dylan like a nod or like a smark, like you can
early on in the movie when he was trying to jump the bridge.
It's like a I see you type of thing, like you got it next time type of thing, right?
Yeah.
And then he dies. He's the first one to die. You get the football date guy, and he helps the homeless guy. He warns the sheriff. He dies.
Yeah.
The only people who haven't helped really are the predator and the date rape victim.
Yeah.
Right. But then you get this guy who is, like, okay, you can't unclog that drain. Maybe I can do it. And then he dies. Yeah. And then we're going to see this a couple more times.
Yeah. Because we see.
So, but Fran helps.
Yeah.
The sheriff is helping basically kind of everybody in an indirect way because he's looking for the blob, even though he doesn't know he's looking for the blob.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, but he wants to check on Fran because he can't reach her. And we find out he dies off screen. Yeah. And then Fran dies after she sees that the sheriff died, coming to look for her, basically.
Dude, why in the hell would you run to a phone? Okay, so for you younger listeners, a phone booth is way before your time, but it was literally a booth where you put a dime in at one point, and then it became a quarter, and you would make a telephone call. This was big in the 80s. They don't have, I don't know, maybe they have them somewhere as, I don't know, collecting dust somewhere, but why in the hell would you this is a small town. More than likely, the sheriff's department is across the street or around the corner. Why in the hell would you run into a phone booth where you essentially trap yourself? You have nowhere to go with this thing, I don't know. It's not that far away, right?
Well, we know it's not far away because the way the film shot this, Dylan and Smith come out of the precinct and then they walk across the street. And then it's Fran's diner.
So yeah,
she could have walked like one block or ran one block, and she would have been at the sheriff's.
And you just basically isolate yourself into this little.
It's really stupid, but just chalk it up to like, oh yeah, panicky, blah blah. Blah. I don't know. Maybe she even thought it was like, oh yeah, I can't break it. I don't know.
Yeah, but it makes for a cool scene.
It's really traumatic. That's for
it
sure.
is. It's fucked up, man.
It's a good kill
because this thing basically. So it swarms this phone booth and just absorbs it. Like I said, it absorbs everything in its path, and she's now the next victim. So she gets it. So all these characters that we like are, except for the predator guy, they're all dead, man. We got Kevin Dillon, Tawny Smith. And I think Tawny Smith has a little brother that I think is over at the movie theater. He snuck in. I think he snuck out, or no, he was going to spend the night at his friends. Of course, they both lied to get into this movie, and it's probably like a slasher movie or something. And so they their parents aren't going to let them do it, so they sneak in. So they're at the movie theater with. But other than that, there's not a lot of other characters other than that cop that are left.
Well, the movie does a really smart thing by just the hell was that, dude?
Sorry about that, everyone.
Jesus. Yeah, that was crazy.
I don't know what that noise was. That was kind of creepy.
Yeah, it's almost like something like scraped against the ground, like the road or something.
Yeah, apologize for that.
So the movie does a really smart thing. The movie does a really smart thing by introducing a shit ton of characters and then forgetting them and then coming back to them. So the kids are one. And then The mechanic is another. And then
yeah.
it introduces like a bunch of other characters at about like the 45-50 minute mark. I don't quite remember.
Yeah.
It's basically like midpoint act 2 stuff,
Yeah. I think that
so that way we have like a bunch more people to kill.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And like I think I was telling you this, not super important, but I think I remember the boy from Return of the Living Dead Part 2. I haven't seen Return of the Living Dead Part 2 in a while, but I think he was the kid in it. Anyways, yeah, I mean, we're, not too long from now, we're going to be introduced to these, I don't know, these government scientists, right? In all these suits, and you know, they're basically there to monitor what this blob is doing, and to screw the whole town. They're going to quarantine the whole town. They don't care what happens to them. They just want to see what this thing's going to do, you know? And so, you know, Kevin Dillon and Tawny Smith's character, you know, I don't know if they're really captured. Are they captured by them? I don't know. I mean, I guess.
It's like capture in quotes.
Yeah, I mean,
they're basically forcing them along.
Yeah.
For quote unquote like their protection or whatever. But yeah, I mean, they've got guns. They're in suits. They're in unmarked vehicles. They're suggesting to do this, but they're really just kind of telling them to do this.
Yes, forcing them. Yeah. And then they start heading back into town inside this, I don't know, this armed vehicle. You know, Kevin Dillon. You know, what's his character's name? I keep saying I keep saying that we keep saying Kevin Dillon and Tawny Smith. I thought his name was Brian or something like that.
Brian Flag.
Is it Brian? And what's Tawny's?
You mean Shawnee?
Shawnee. Oh my God! Oh my God! That is terrible.
Jeez, dude. I give you like a modicum amount of trust, and this is what
that
you do
is
to me.
Terrible. Oh my God! I apologize. Holy crap!
Darren needs to edit all of those Tawnies with Shawnees.
I meant Shawnee. Oh Jesus.
Meg Penny is her character's name.
Oh, Meg. Yeah. But Brian ends up, I don't know what he did. Kick down the door. I don't know what the hell he did to get out of the armed vehicle. And, you know, he goes back to his motorcycle, and, you know, she comes back into town where, you know, the whole town is on lockdown. Right. So, you know, he gets away from the scientist on his motorcycle. He finally jumps the bridge that he was trying to jump at the beginning. He gets away. I think he ends up hiding in the sewer, doesn't he? And this is,
who are we talking about?
This is where, you know, where Brian, or Kevin Dillon's character, he gets away from the scientist in his motorcycle. He goes and hides out, goes into the sewer.
Kevin Dillon doesn't hide, Dad.
I thought he hides in the sewer, or he goes into the sewers.
He goes into the sewer. He doesn't hide in the sewer.
Okay. I thought he was.
Don't disrespect the character like that.
But in the meantime, she goes to try to find her brothers at the movie theater. We know the Blob's there, you know, a couple more, you know, some kind of cool killings. You know, the whole theater is being taken over by the Blob. You know, the brother and his friend and Shawnee. Jesus, I can't believe I did that. You know, the funny thing is I knew her name was Shawnee. I don't know why I kept saying Tawny. I don't even know what the hell. Anyways, I'm going to apologize multiple times before the end of this podcast, because I feel like an a-hole now.
No, you should.
I mean, I've seen her in other stuff. She was like in a lot of the Saw movies too.
I can't believe you would get someone's name wrong.
I know.
I don't think anyone's ever else done that on this podcast before.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true. But still, I feel like a complete a-hole. But anyway, her character, Meg, they get out of the movie theater. They end up inside the sewer, where, of course, they eventually meet up. I think they meet up with Brian, don't they? You know,
who's Brian?
That's Kevin Dillon's character.
Yeah, I think we should call it Kevin Dillon now.
Just really?
Because I'm not going to remember.
Let's just call him KD. Just kidding.
Yeah, they have a reunion, and then they're like, "Hey, I thought you only cared about yourself," and he was like, "No, never did."
Yeah,
he doesn't say that.
I misunderstood.
Yeah. You know what's funny is, like, damn, they really went hard on the stereotypes, because he's like, isn't he in like a leather jacket the entire movie?
Yeah, he's
He's
got
like
that
in jeans and a leather jacket.
jeans, leather jacket.
He's got a
that
motorcycle.
He's got the quintessential mullet from that time. He's got.
Oh yeah, that's what that was.
That was the mullet. Oh yeah. Unfortunately, I had something similar to that back in like the early '90s. I don't know if it was a mullet. It's just my hair was a little longer than normal, and these days I keep it pretty short. But that was probably the longest I ever had it. It was uncomfortable. I don't know how people could do that. But anyways, he had that. He's your typical. He looks like the typical bad boy, right?
Yeah. But if you just peel away that onion, you find out he's just like a gooey, like, good boy. So no, he's there to save the day. So what he wants to do is he saw that this like entity, this institution that's like surrounding this meteorite with the blob, it's like, oh yeah, I overheard them, and it's like actually an experiment, and it's going crazy, and they just don't care about the town. So now they don't warn the town.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
And of course he meets up with Shawnee Smith's character.
I told you her name was Shawnee. I don't know why you kept calling her Tawny through this whole episode.
I actually did call her Tawny, but only because I trusted you, as a son would usually trust his dad.
I know. Once I can't be right all the time, man. Even though parents always say that. I screwed up. I admit it. My bad. I'm sure I'm going to get shit from people on this one. We'll
throw this whole episode out.
No way, man.
And then we'll record.
We have some good stuff in here, man. We talked about fraps and all kinds of stuff.
Sewer stuff happens. That little kid dies, whatever.
Yeah.
So the next little beat that happens is they find a science guy who come on, you're in the sewer, basically like a sacrificial guy.
Yeah.
But he has a rocket launcher. And then like the main government bad guy who like spearheaded this whole experiment. It's like, hey, I'm not letting you guys out. And the blob's down there, so you're probably going to die. And then Dylan is all like, no, I got a rocket launcher, dude. And he one hands the rocket launcher and shoots it. Dude, it would have tore his thing right off. Or even the explosion would have just like blown them up. But yeah. So there was they put a car or a truck over the manhole cover and he blows it up. And then we're basically like Act 3, let's finish up the movie type of thing. So they get out of the manhole cover because they just exploded it. And everyone's like, oh man, what's going on? And then they're like, Dylan's like, hey guys, this is a bad guy, dude. He's just trying to kill us all, basically.
Yeah.
And then there's like, what? And then there's like a stand, there's like a standoff, right? Like a good, bad, and the ugly,
Yeah.
And then there's like gunfire, and then basically the movie's over. No.
Well, I think there was, for the most part,
They still got to deal with the titular, the blob, I guess. But
didn't they all make their way into like the church or something to try to protect themselves? And they realized that
it's like a church or a community center.
Yeah.
Basically the same thing for a small town.
Yeah. And he's trying to explain to them, hey, look, it doesn't like the cold, so they take fire extinguishers and...
No, dude, they forgot about all of that.
Oh, what?
Smith's character just happens to grab a fire extinguisher and shoots it at it. And then she's like, oh yeah, that really important tidbit that I saw like at minute 30 and I had forgotten until now.
Yeah.
That helped stop the thing. And so, that's when she's like, oh yeah, the cold. Yeah.
They seem to have a lot of fire extinguishers around, didn't they? Like,
there's a rocket launcher explosion. It just happened. Of course, it's going to have.
But they had like a lot of. They were like everywhere. Like in this community center church. I mean, they had a ton of them, man.
They probably had a lot of fires. I don't know.
A lot of fires in the church or something. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it was convenient, but yeah, I mean, So then I think Brian or Kevin Dillon's character goes. He's going to save the day. He goes to the the shop that we're introduced to earlier, where his buddy works, and he gets the snow. What is it, like a snow machine or something? I don't know. I don't know what you use this for. What do you use this for? Is it for like?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I'm curious about these things. Is it something that you would use, like, say, in a hockey rink, or would you like, hey, because we know the town used to get a lot of snow, but they mentioned earlier on in the movie that it's just been like dried up for years. And I think that's why you see a lot of businesses close down. Like it was probably the happening place, like a touristy place, and so now it's not. So I don't know, maybe this machine is to create fake snow. I don't know, man. But anyways, he goes to grab this thing, knows this blob thing doesn't like cold, and some cool action stuff here and there. And I don't know, what does he do? I think they blow the thing up. And then
to be fair, I don't think he really does much. Like he just like crashes it into the blob, and then it's Shawnee who does the rest of it.
Shawnee does the
rest.
Like
she really does do the heavy lifting. She saves the day.
Who's the one that like jumps off the machine and gets, of course,
that's Shawnee Smith.
Their shoelace, stuck to the whatever.
Typical. Her foot got like caught
like on some like hose or some shit. Yeah.
But yeah, she does everything, dude.
She does. Well, he brought the machine over at least. I mean,
that was a good idea, but like he didn't pull the trigger or anything.
No, so it was like 75 her and 25 him, maybe.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, they blow this ice thing up, which creates all this snow and shit, and basically crystallizes the blob. Right? Crystallizes it. They're actually pretty cool crystals, man. This whole big pile of crystals. But we know, okay, well, that's not going to last. At least in my head, I would think, okay, well, it's eventually going to get warm.
Yeah, it's not dead. It's just frozen.
It's just contained, kind of like you would put it in something.
The movie sees this as like a win. But then there's like this religious guy. No, he's like a pastor, right? Oh, I mean, technically,
he's
technically
a
religious guy is right.
He's a priest. He's the town priest.
What's the difference between a pastor and a priest?
I don't know. I don't know. Priest was the first thing that came to my head.
Well, pastor was the first thing that came to my head. I don't know. He's a guy who wears that black suit with the white thing on his throat.
Yeah, priest.
I don't know. I don't know what any of this stuff is. I'm sorry.
I'm not religious, so I don't know the difference between a pastor and a priest. I don't know. I guess when I look at him, I go, I think priest. But anyways, whatever. He's the town religious dude. He gets burned earlier on in the film, like, I don't know, well, maybe a little while earlier, but we know he jarred a couple of
just like one thing, right?
I think it was like a couple pieces. I thought like a couple crystals.
I thought it was just like one bit. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
But
I know we're getting too technical.
He grabs a bit of the blob and puts it in a little jar thing, but he doesn't seal it at first. I'm like, dude, seal that shit.
Yeah.
He obviously sealed it off screen. And then, this guy has a little bit of the blob. And at the end of the movie, he's like preaching about like the reckoning and basically like end time stuff. But of course, he's got the blob. So, it's going to happen when he wants it to happen. And I guess that's like sequel bait. I don't know if this movie ever got a sequel.
It never got a sequel.
Yeah. Well,
which is fine. I'm totally fine with not getting. I love this movie. I don't think it warranted a sequel. But yeah, I mean, it's right. Isn't that typical of any 80s horror movie? Let's leave it open for a sequel just in case, because we got, 800 Friday the 13th and Halloween's. And
to be fair, that's like
Elm Streets.
That's like every movie, especially a movie that had a bunch of money thrown at it.
Yeah, I don't know what the budget was on this. I don't think the budget was probably
$10 million.
$10 million? Oh, okay, that's not too bad.
But it only made $8.2 million.
Oh, really? What a bummer, man. Did it just bombed, and then maybe over time it just became kind of like more of a cult following? Because I know a lot of people that love this movie. Anyone that I know has seen this movie has always had good things to say about it.
That's a cool poster.
Yeah, there's some cool artwork. I think I had a T-shirt for this at some point. It's probably like I don't think I have it anymore. I think it's part of my, you know what? I don't know. I think I gave it to Morris. I think he was going to do something with like a beanbag or something, and he was going to somehow sew this onto the beanbag because it was a similar color or something. So I think I gave it to him. But I think it was done by Fright Rags or something. There you go, Fright Rags. There's a shout out to you. Not that you need it or anything. But, I don't know, man. I love this movie. I think we've hit on everything. This is a fun movie. This is, of course, right up my alley because, I love stuff like this. This, ghosts, campy, cheesy, boom, and I'm glad that you liked it. Finally one that I think, I got that feeling you enjoyed it, and I'm glad,
This movie becomes even more relevant, or has become even more relevant today. And I think I know people are watching Contagion these days just because of, what the state of the world. This is basically Contagion before Contagion, but wrapped up in a B movie. A B horror movie.
Yeah.
So I like this movie. Found it surprisingly relevant, and fun. I think this movie is better watched with, maybe another person or two if you have any family members into this.
Yeah.
And then maybe with like some, like, this is like your popcorn candy movie.
Yep.
Bring some popcorn, some candy, some sodas, and
Yep.
have a good time.
Yeah.
While also being like silently bummed in the background about the state of the world and how this movie's commenting on it, and like nothing's changed.
Yeah. I know.
But yes, yeah, I like this movie for a lot of reasons, and those are the two big ones.
Yeah. Sweet, man. What else? I guess that's it. I think we hit on everything. I would say go check this out. Watch it, come back, listen to our episode, or shit, listen to our episode and whatever sequence you want to do it in is fine. Cool. And one last time, I want to apologize to Shawnee Smith. I feel like a complete jerk off right now that I was saying for, I don't know, about 45 minutes of this episode, her name wrong, even though I knew her name. I don't know. It happens. I know I've done it earlier on in other episodes where it's like you think of something and then you say something else, and no excuse for it. Don't anyone give me too hard of a time. I already feel bad.
I don't think she's listening, and I don't think anyone's gonna let her know.
Yeah, that's true. And this damn a-hole over on Ear for Fear is, saying your name wrong for like 45 minutes, But anyways, I think that's it. Real quick, I think Donovan, do you want to chat a little bit about what we're going to do? You're still going to be on the show, but not as much with work and stuff like that. Your schedule just doesn't, warrant.
I'm a very tired person, and I know a lot of other people are able to manage a full-time job, and then their hobbies. I'm having trouble doing that. Sometimes I'll find myself tired and frustrated, and I don't think that makes for a fair recording. You may have even heard me be tired on this podcast, in bouts of lack of talking towards the end of an episode, and that's from exhaustion and sometimes from frustration at the current state of my life, and just working a full-time job.
Well, it's stressful now. To jump on that, you and I both work in the same industry. We do different jobs, but
right,
you
work for Title, I believe, and I do work for you work specifically in Title.
Yeah.
My company works in Title Insurance, and I lead a department, and that department has shrunk as time has gone on. We've had work removed from us, and my team that was just usually, hovering around like 4 to 6 people is now 2 people plus me. To be fair, the workload has kind of shrunk down with us, but it can occasionally be quite stressful, and
very stressful. Yeah.
Even though I only manage 2 people, it can still be pretty rough sometimes. So yeah, sometimes work can be pretty hard, especially when my client is escrow. And if anyone has ever bought a house before or refinanced, well, I guess if you bought a house, if you were going to refinance, you probably bought a house.
Yeah.
But, dealing with escrow, since they're constantly stressed out because they're constantly working on multiple escrows that are closing, they're handling buyers, sellers, bunch of third parties. Imagine their temperament, and then imagine me having to sort of finesse what they want us to do with that. So
it's a look, the industry as a whole, I've been doing it nearly 23 years. You're fairly new to it. I think you've been into 2 to 4 years. It's a very, very stressful, it's a very rewarding industry, because I feel like we help people out in some way or another, but it's very stressful. It's very demanding. It can get very tiring. And so
I come and I don't think this is something that's unique to me. I don't. But I do find it really hard to come back home, and I'm really tired. And then my dad's like, "Hey, let's watch a movie.
Let's go do it. Let's go do a cool episode.
Yeah, or let's record." And like, I know it bums him out when I'm not in a good mood. Like, he's told me as much, and I feel bad for that. And I also feel bad for anyone who does listen to us, knowing that I'm not bringing to the podcast an energy that should be brought to the podcast. So I'm stepping back. I'm probably going to be doing maybe half of the the episodes we've been doing, we average one a week. I might be doing 2 a month now, in an effort to sort of make my non-podcast life a little bit simpler and give myself a little bit more free time while also bringing to the podcast, hopefully, more energy.
Yeah. And I, for those who don't know, you love your time. When you get off of work, you like to, read and relax and do different things and to decompress, so to say, and unwind. And,
Yeah.
And you love that. I like that too. I don't need it as much as you, probably because I'm older and maybe I've just gotten used to it, but I know you're all about your time. And I respect that completely.
Yeah, I do need a lot of just Donovan time.
Yeah.
I don't mean masturbation. I mean
You're stupid.
I mean just time to myself.
Decompress,
without anyone there, without any sort of voices. And I think for some people that's kind of hard to understand. I know like introverted people know exactly what I'm talking about, but even people I've known my entire life, sometimes I just need to be away from everybody. And I live with my dad now and my sister, and sometimes that can be a little bit hard. And that could also be why the podcast is just not great sometimes, is because I haven't gotten that sort of away time.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny you say decompress. I just read this comic called Goodnight Poon Poon, which is something like you guys got for me for Christmas.
Yeah.
And I've been meaning to read that since basically the last volume was released, just coincidentally in English. And I think that was around like 2015, 2016, but it ended in 2013. And it's a manga, it's a Japanese comic. But I knew the art was amazing, and I also knew it was really sad. So I was hesitant to read it, and then I finally started to read it. I binged like the first 4 or 5 volumes, and I stopped for a bit.
Yeah.
And then I picked it back up after about a month.
Yeah.
And then I finished it, and it was some of the most devastating shit I've ever read.
Yeah.
And I was kind of reeling from that for like a few days. And to be honest, I'm still kind of feeling it.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
it's funny that, I'm taking this time to just to not feel like sad and tired, but then I'm like engaging in like something that's tired or I'm sorry, sad. But I had a good cry and it felt better and cathartic almost. But I guess the point is that you got to find time for yourself. You got to find time to do multiple things that you want to do and not just sit around and watch YouTube all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. You can't do that. Just,
Everyone,
mix in with some other things in there.
Everyone has their vices, man. For me, sometimes it's literally going outside and I complain about it, but it's just sometimes it's doing yard work. For some reason, it almost puts me at some sort of ease or peace. I'll go out and I'll mow and I'll edge and I'll trim down shrubs. And it sucks sometimes, but sometimes it's just my way of just, I don't know, some sort of release, man. And maybe there's some people out there that understand, and everyone has their different things. It could be sitting down and watching a movie. It could be reading a book. It could be, I don't know, washing dishes, vacuuming, all these different things. Everyone has their own things. So it's all different for everybody, and that's okay. But we wanted to at least, let the listeners know, I think, I'm not sure I'm not positive on how we're going to do it yet. I have an idea, it could be, a couple episodes with Morris, who we've had on before as a guest. Couple episodes with Darren, who we had on as a guest, who, by the way, does all our editing and does the music for the episodes, which are just fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, the music's really great. Darren, if you're listening to this, I know I haven't talked to you personally, but like everything I've listened to has been like amazing. So
yeah, I mean, he's killed it on these things. Oh my God. And he's got some other cool music, in the future. And I think we're talking about maybe doing a new intro, and he's got, I actually listened to part of it last night and sounds really cool, but I think we do that maybe once in a while. I might do an episode by myself. I don't know if I can carry an episode by myself because, I know a lot of horror movies. I've been watching them most of my life, but I feel that you have so many damn good insights to say. To me, it may not be as educational or as structured if it's just me by myself, but that's a possibility. But just wanted to let the listeners know what's happening. You're not going anywhere. You're still going to be around and hopefully more energized and jazzed. Just to take some time for yourself. Nothing wrong with that, man.
I still love you guys.
Yeah.
It's not you, it's me.
So anyways, man, we probably rambled too maybe a little longer than we thought on that. But anyways, I think that's it. Anything else you want to throw in there?
I'll see you guys around.
Yeah, cool, man. All right, we'll see you next episode. Thanks again for listening. Make sure you tell everyone about our Ear for Fear podcast. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Ear for Fear. You can also check out our website, earforfear.com. There you can keep up to date on news, events, and episodes. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. We hope you come back and get an earful.